Hello, everyone. This is Scotty White of World Combat Sports. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to kick this off about Fight Week. We have a lot going on over there in NYC as always. But first, for those of you that's tuning in, smash the like button and also be sure to share and support World Combat Sports by hitting that bell icon so you can get the notifications when I do go live. I appreciate everyone who's been supporting the channel and salute to all of you. I want to jumpstart this off talking about the final presser of Tyson Fury, Tom Schwarz. One thing I did make sure that I combed the fine details was to make sure I get Tom Schwarz's name spelled correctly. Besides that, it's not too much I have to say about the matchup itself. The reason being is it really doesn't pertain to anything as far as the heavyweight shakeup goes, but it can become a determining factor if it plays out. And I really don't like prognosticating like that, but if by chance Tom Schwarz, who was nose to nose, face to face, as if him and Tyson Fury is going to reciprocate, the Sefa Safari in-ring kiss, like this was Gone with the Boxing, Wind 2.0. You know what I'm saying? If he's able to go in there and upset Tyson Fury, which I just don't see it as being on his game plan, I don't see his demeanor being as intense to go in here and earn his place in the heavyweight shakeup. It feels like he understands the orders, his placement, and everything that's going along with this opportunity. And that's it. Tyson Fury is doing Tyson Fury. He's promoting the fight. He's trash talking, and he's getting close enough to another man to let them know how special they make him feel. That's all. Now, if by chance Tom Schwarz is able to pull it off, he will indeed place himself in an entirely different situation. That, of course, is if the rematch clause isn't implemented right away. And I'm pretty sure, a rematch clause is somewhere in the contractual agreement. What's going on, Eric Jenkins, man? Salute, bro. Thanks for tuning in. And those of you that's just now tuning in to World Combat Sports, hey, be sure to press that like button. All it takes is a thumbs up. That's all. Press that thumbs up button. But anyway, back to Tyson Fury. We know the bout that we want to see. Tyson Fury is, top 3 heavyweight in the division right now. So it's only really 3 heavyweights that's truly important to the dynamic of these future bouts that's going to surface sometime soon. It all depends on the outcome of these matches. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we have the Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz. We have the Anthony Joshua rematch of Andy Ruiz. And, of course, Tyson Fury and Tom Schwarz. That's going down this weekend in NYC. Is Tyson Fury capable of turning this into a bout that's very boring, but squeak out the win or earn a definitive win? Yes, he's that fighter. He's in every way, shape, and form that fighter who can go in there and did the same thing he did with Francisco Pianeta, the same thing he did with Sefa Safari, and the same as he did when he stepped in there with Vladimir Klitschko. That's just being honest. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm going to say about that bout. I mean, it's going to go down. People are going to attend because it's Tyson Fury, and he has his fan base behind him. But I would have rather seen him in a rematch, an immediate rematch with Deontay Wilder. That's real talk. This does nothing for me because it's another guy that reminds me of understanding what his position is. He don't seem like he's a fighter that's overly anxious with his demeanor, being tenacious enough to go in there and say, okay, it's time for me to shock the world. It's time for me to go in here and give Tyson Fury his first loss. He doesn't have that energy about him. And I don't get the vibe from him that he's seriously taking this, to that level. So, hey, For those of you that's gonna tune in, if I have a chance to catch up with it this weekend, I will. Just for media purposes. But besides that, it'll probably be on DVR. You know what I'm saying? It'll be on DVR. I don't think it'll be a Andy Ruiz type shakeup because there's no belts involved. But I'm saying if he's able to defeat Tyson Fury, it really fragments a lot of the planning process that's supposed to happen with these top heavyweights in the division. When Joshua lost, Ringside Magazine put Tyson Fury up there. So they still showing Tyson Fury mad love instead of Deontay Wilder. So, I know the list just came out with ESPN. They got it right. It should have been that way for quite some time, but they finally print and put Deontay Wilder at the top of the list. The more experienced fighter, accepting and calling out all the prominent names in the division. And we'll see how this plays out from 2019 to 2020. That's all I have to say on that bout. Moving on. I do want to give a shout out to the fight card that's going on July 13th. Shakur Stevenson, hometown. He's stepping back over there. He just come off a dominating performance in a 12-round unanimous decision. Co-main event, Joshua Greer Jr., Chi-Town's own. Don't blink, Mr. ESPN. Whatever you want to call it, he's a problem. So it's good to see the star power that's going to be on the headliner. Olympian Shakur Stevenson in his hometown. Also the co-main event, Joshua Greer Jr. And then I heard that Joshua Greer's stablemate, Nathaniel Gallimore, is due back in the square on that same card. So that's going to be a turn-up night. It's going to be absolutely lit. And I know it's going to be good numbers. I know people are going to come out there and support Shakur Stevenson. So y'all be sure to tune into that. New Fat Boy Fitness, what's good with you? He said he liked Mr. ESPN. Yeah, I've been, Joshua Greer Jr. is a different type of dude. He's cut from a different cloth, real talk. And, I have my reason for supporting him. His technical skill set is 360 degrees. You know what I'm saying? All around as a fighter, he has a lot of intangibles that do great things in the sport of boxing. He really do. He doesn't have an extensive amateur career. He's going for his 18th straight win. And, the only blemish to his ledger is when he was just trying to figure out what lane he wanted to contend in. Once he figured that out, it's on and popping. Can't be stopped. And, I was supporting Joshua Greer Jr. before he signed with Top Rank. So I'm not just hopping on the bandwagon, man. I supported him, before he was with Top Rank and before he signed with Jay Prince. Josh Greer is a special fighter. He is a special fighter. Fighters was losing their mind before they even step in the square. But you know this one thing about Josh Greer Jr., his demeanor reciprocates outside the ring, and the same way it reciprocates in the ring. He basically lets you know he's a different kind of dude. He's a different kind of fighter. And he's really changing the sport as we know it. And he's on the brink of a title shot. So I just can't wait till he get that title shot, man. He's very close in the bantamweight division. So y'all stay on the lookout for Joshua Greer Jr., man. Mr. ESPN, don't blink. He's one of the most entertaining fighters in the sport of boxing. Real talk. Be sure to look him up. Support him. Next, I want to, talk about the presser that went on today before I get to the Bellator, because, these names are much more, even though the fight card is late on in the year, but they had the press conference and, they kind of talk with Khabib the Nurmagomedov, who's 27-0, who's the lightweight champion. He's facing Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, right? He's had his runs, in the UFC. He's not a slouch by no means. He has 25 wins and 5 defeats. Okay, he's contending in the 155-pound division. That is the lightweight division in the UFC. Now, he's coming off a spectacular win against Max Holloway. It was a back and forth, toe-to-toe exchange where it wasn't too much ground game implemented, but they was trading strikes on the feet. And I was very curious to see how Max Holloway performs at the higher weight. And Dustin just gave him the absolute business. He gave him the business, man. And we're talking about Dustin Poirier, who has losses in the UFC, you know, when he was still in his development stages, so to speak. I don't know, man. Conor McGregor in 2014 had his number. Conor McGregor stopped Dustin Poirier in 1 round, man. 1 round. And then he went on like a 4-fight win streak. He ran into Michael Johnson, 2016. Went out in 1 round. They just finished him in 1 round, man. Then he would go on to fight Jim Miller. And then Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez was really making it a competitive bout, but somehow he lost focus and became complacent. We're talking about the underground king. We're talking about Eddie Alvarez has been champion in every organization he ever fought, including the UFC. So when he was in there with Dustin Poirier, somehow landing a knee, and I could have sworn Dustin could have got up from that knee, even though he was grounded. He stayed down, and they ended up calling the fight a no contest accidental knee. So after that fight, he had some, superb wins. He submitted Anthony Pettis. And then Justin Gaethje, he stopped the hype train of Justin Gaethje, who was coming over there to the UFC off all that momentum, in WC, I believe he was in. And Justin Gaethje comes over here and defeats Michael Johnson, who's a very good striker. All right. Then he runs into none other than who? Eddie Alvarez. Stops Justin Gaethje on strikes. So Justin Gaethje's like, okay, this is my first loss in the UFC. This is my first loss in my career. I lost to Eddie Alvarez, the underground king. Okay. I want to go back in there against another top contender. He stepped in there with Dustin Poirier, and guess what? He got stopped in the 4th round from chaos, mayhem. Both of these fighters was throwing punches, man, landing on one another. It's just Dustin Poirier had the more sound, fundamental striking display. He was able to avoid a little less punishment than Justin Gaethje. Then he goes on to fight Eddie Alvarez again and finish him in 2 rounds. This is Dustin Poirier. He went back for the rematch with Eddie Alvarez and finished him in 2 rounds. And then most recently, he fought Max Holloway. Max Holloway is the current champion as featherweight, y'all. This was supposed to be much more competitive than it seemed. Like Max was trying to be the champ. And he got absolutely blitzed, terminated. And Max, he's probably suspended for at least 60 days, 90 days, whatever the protocol is. He needs to heal. He definitely needs to heal from that punishment that Dustin Poirier gave him. But now, winning against Max Holloway, who is the current featherweight champion, it sets him up for a title fight because that earned him the interim lightweight championship. He's due to face Khabib Nurmagomedov in Abu Dhabi, September 7th, 2019, y'all. Come on, man. Come on. If you a mixed martial arts fan, if you part-time, full-time, it don't matter. You know this is going to be turn-up night. It's going to be a burner. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he is called the Eagle. He is a different breed. He's 27-0. You probably seen him wrestling bears when he was a kid. His dad being in the fight game, Khabib being a 2-time Sambo champion. He's for real. in every sense of the word. Hey, his family is real, not the type of individuals you want to run up on by mistake. The only thing I can say in scenario wise, listen, if Khabib was on the elevator with two or three dudes and they try to rob him, Khabib will probably be like in the elevator came up to the floor that Khabib was supposed to get off on. He would close the doors back and hit the emergency button so the door wouldn't open and say, okay, as you were saying, and commence to whooping all their ass at the same time. That's Khabib the Magomedov. He wouldn't have got off the elevator. He would have stayed on there with the three dudes and whooped their ass and and teach them a lesson. And then probably prayed with them once it was all over and say, you know, that was wrong. You know, that was wrong what you did. Don't ever try that again. Okay. Make sure you do your research. But that's what we're dealing with. Khabib the Magomedov 27-0 against Dustin Poirier 25-5. I gave you the rundown. It's going to be a nice one. And you know, just to give you a brief summary, the fight card that's going to happen in Abu Dhabi is you have Khalid Taha going against Bruno Silva. Some some unfamiliar names to the casual MMA fans. You have Curtis Blade, who's really trying to get on track on the winning streak. He has 2 losses since he first entered the UFC, and he's going in there against Shamil Abarknikov. And you know, you have some other fighters that's on that particular card, but it's not really a heavy card because it's, first of all, it's in Abu Dhabi. And you know how that goes, man. Sometimes the UFC cards are heat and sometimes they aren't. And this is one of them. The main one that's going to set this off is Khabib Nurmagomedov and Dustin Poirier, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So let me get to the chat. The Wonderful Life of Bob J. What's good? Max already had a stroke, but Tony is the best lightweight. Bob J say he ain't do shit to Nate Diaz. A lot of people didn't do what they wanted to Nate Diaz. You know what I'm saying? Because Nate's that dude. Whether he chooses to submit you or Stockton slap the taste out your mouth. That's Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz. But I don't want to call them has-beens. I want to say that they're no longer relevant to the mixed martial artists or no longer relevant to fighters calling them out. You know what I'm saying? Because pretty much people have them dialed in pretty damn good when it comes to the octagon. They have them dialed in. If you can get past the Diaz brothers boxing, because they are some of the best boxers in the game, real talk. Like when they was active, the Diaz brothers were some of the best boxers in the game. But when it came down to fighters breaking them down, having pretty good takedown defense, that was their Achilles heel. They was able to get beat down and lose by decision. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was difficult for you to just come in there and feel that you was going to run through the Diaz brothers. Even GSP. You know, I was shocked how GSP was able to basically know everything that Nick Diaz was going to do. But he did. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I have mad respect for the Diaz brothers. I would have rather seen one of them face Floyd Mayweather if you're going to do an MMA and boxing crossover instead of seeing Conor McGregor face Floyd Mayweather. I'm not saying any outcome would be different. I'm just saying it would have been a lot more entertaining. Forget the hands behind the back. We're talking about the Diaz brothers would have went in there and tried to slap the taste out of Floyd's mouth. Floyd would have had to, you know, come with it early on than he did with Conor. He carried Conor for 10 rounds, but he would have had to tighten up just a little bit earlier with the Diaz brothers. Period. You know, even though they had, you know, they would have had 8-ounce gloves on or whatever, I think it still would have been very entertaining. Louis Castillo, what's good? What's good? Salute to you. Bro, Fury actually get in good shape I mean, good. If actually get a good stoppage, I'm thinking about the old Tyson Fury, bro. If Fury actually get a good stoppage against Schwarz, it's gonna make these future heavyweights fights even more exciting than they already are. Hey, Tyson Fury knows how to promote himself. You know what I'm saying? That's what he do. Now, as far as his fights goes, it was entertaining his last fight, with Deontay Wilder, but it wasn't overly you know, entertainment value to the point where it just had us on the edge of our seats. It's a typical Tyson Fury. He can make a fight very tedious, very border, very lethargic. That's his fight style. Sporadic, punches in spurts, showboating. He's very selective. And a lot of you might say that's boxing, but I'm just saying, I'm speaking strictly for Tyson Fury. But that was the presser. I'm gonna get back to the other comments. That was the presser for Khabib Nurmagomedov, Dustin Poirier. I have much respect for both fighters. As you probably already know, Khabib Nurmagomedov, when he finally returned, he fought Michael Johnson, basically pounded him into submission. Then, he went in there against Edson Barbosa, one of the fastest switch kickers in the sport. He just don't have hands to basically commend his kicking ability. And Khabib just punished him and made him quit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Edson Barbosa couldn't even land a kick like he did on Kevin Lee, on Khabib Nurmagomedov. And then it gets to the point of the much anticipated rematch where everybody was hyping Conor up. His first fight back since earning that heavy, heavy payday against Floyd Mayweather. And he goes in there and get dropped after disrespecting Khabib's family, his religion, offering him a sip of proper 12 whiskey while he was in a press conference, talking about his manager, Ali, saying that he was a terrorist and a snitch and all this other stuff. Conor McGregor really took it to levels that people lose their life over lesser personal jabs, man, lesser trash talking. He took it to the deepest part of personal disrespect that you can. The vitriol was real. And Khabib went in there and not only dropped Conor, but he pressed he pressed the gas on Conor's ass like he was on diesel fuel, and they ended up subbing him out. A lot of people want to call it a neck crank, but the proper submission that happened in that fourth round was a fulcrum choke. You rarely see a fulcrum choke. You rarely see it. One arm is around the jawline and the other one is like 12-6. You have the palm to palm grip, and the way that Khabib was basically choking Conor out, it sort of looks like a neck crank, but it is a fulcrum choke because the arm that is 12-6 behind the back, it also helps turn that choke into the submission that it is. It's a nice, beautiful submission if done correctly. You know what I'm saying? It's not rarely used. A lot of people say it's a neck crank because he did turn Conor's head to a certain way, to the right, and he was cranking his neck. But when it comes down to it, he defeated Conor McGregor. The second time Conor McGregor was subbed out. The first time was against Nate Diaz. His gas tank, just like Anthony Joshua, he had the sloth-itis, and he got tired and decided to shoot in on a black belt, a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu. Legit. Under the Gracies. We all know it was all downhill from there. And once Nate Diaz went to work, he didn't have to do much. All he did was soften him up, so he can raise his neck up a little bit. Ran his arm through. Before we know it, he has him in an RNC, rear naked choke. And the rest is what it is. And he was belly down, y'all. Nate Diaz had Conor McGregor belly down. He wasn't getting out of that choke. But guess what the fight fans did? Time Conor McGregor loses, they cheer him on even more. Then he ran in there, Khabib Nurmagomedov. And unfortunately, after Khabib subbed Conor, his teammate Dillian Danis, Conor's teammate, was out there talking trash, to the lead up to the fight too. Talking about he had the equalizer, he had the recipe for Conor McGregor to go in there. Conor McGregor is not known for his jiu-jitsu game, especially against a sambo practitioner like Khabib Nurmagomedov. So guess what? Khabib Nurmagomedov scaled the cage and took flight. He took flight to go handle business only how they know to do it over there in Russia. His arms were spread out just like an eagle, and he went at Dylan Danis' ass, man. And make it so bad, Dylan Danis is a Bellator fighter. He's like 1-0. And he really got a lot of press play from being the guy on the receiving end of Khabib Nurmagomedov scaling the cage and jumping out into the crowd. Then Dana didn't give him the belt. Also, they fined my man $500,000. That's how crazy it was for Khabib on that night. We're talking about Conor McGregor, who was only fined $50,000, and he punched Khabib's cousin as he was exiting the cage. Conor threw a punch at Khabib's cousin when he was leaving the cage, and Khabib's cousin never even approached Conor to fight. So that started a melee inside the cage. But they only fined Conor McGregor $50,000 because he was inside the cage. We're talking about a guy who has scaled the cage in Bellator, pushed the referee, and went over there while a fighter was damn near knocked out. He's up there congratulating his fighter and put his hand on the referee. They didn't do nothing. Nothing. Then he gets word that Khabib and his team has cornered his teammate Artem Lobov and gave him the big boy speech. He comes in there with like 15 dudes at the MSG where the parking area is at and toss a metal dolly at the bus and injure some teammates. Absolutely. He split open Michael Chiesa's head. He also caused cuts on Ray Borg. And that night, Thug Rose Namajunas was there to defend her title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She was on there, and we already know she has, instability when it comes to her, problems outside of the cage. So I know she was probably disturbed, about the whole deal, seeing what was going on with Conor and everybody else out there. And then another person that was on the bus was his target, Khabib Nurmagomedov. And Khabib wanted to get off the bus. I believe it. Khabib wanted to get off the damn bus and throw hands. He's like, shit, let's go. Because if Khabib would have got off the bus, it would have been obviously outnumbered, because Conor had like 10 to 15 dudes with him. It would have been outnumbered. But you can best believe when Khabib Nurmagomedov would have returned, it would have been hell to pay. If they would have caught Khabib slipping and got him off that bus and beat him down, the UFC would have took a whole nother light. Because one thing you don't want to do is mess with a Russian like Khabib. Khabib would have came back down. You would have had the Irishman against the Russians, and it would have been a movie in itself. Real talk. But that's just a little breakdown of the history between, Dustin Poirier and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Okay. Now that he's undefeated still, he steps in there with Dustin Poirier in September. I really like this matchup. I like Dustin Poirier, how he's earned himself this title shot the right way. He had his, couple of losses early on in his career, but he's done what he's supposed to. He's improved. And Khabib, he's came off injury, and he's basically said that he's looking forward to fighting the best. Dustin Poirier, and then he wants Tony Ferguson, and then George St. Pierre. If he can defeat all three of those, he said his name would be etched as one of the best mixed martial artists ever. And I don't blame him. Conor McGregor recently asked for a rematch, and he said, "Why should Conor get a rematch?" And he's lost to the guys that I beat. You know what I'm saying? Why should I give Conor a rematch when he had problems? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, no, I mean, I take that back. I'm on two lanes at one time. He said, "Why should I give Conor a rematch when Conor was begging for his life when we fought and he got all personal?" You know what I'm saying? I mean, Conor was on top of the world when he won the two titles, knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, and then he was able to finish Eddie Alvarez. He was on top of the world, and then he went over there and Floyd gave him a shot, and he made over 100 million or whatever. And plus, right now he's making very good money off his whiskey. I'm not really mad at Conor McGregor for what he's doing. He played the system and he won. Now he just needs to stay sober so he can continue to submit solidify his legacy. I'm getting back to the chat. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Life of Bob J says, "Scotty, I feel you, but the only way to beat Nick and Nate is by dry hump." No, you can beat Nick and Nate Diaz with your hands. You can defeat them with your hands if you have the cardio. If you can if you have the gas tank and the technical output to outwork them, because a lot of times Nick and Nate, they was in 3-round fights. When Nate Diaz fought Conor McGregor, they was in a 5-round fight. That worked out for the Diaz, but I'm just saying, if you can outwork them in a 3-round fight, you good. Bob J say he would most have finished them though. So it's a blood choke. That wasn't a blood choke. That wasn't a blood choke. I mean, you can say any choke, RNC. You can say a lot of chokes are blood chokes because it cut off the circulation and the oxygen to the brain. But that choke in itself, look it up. It was a fulcrum choke. Real talk. I mean, I'm not going to give you a rundown, but I do my research, man, and I'm not naive to different submissions that goes on in mixed martial arts. I can bet you 100% the submission that he put on Conor McGregor was a fulcrum choke. Real talk. Neck crank fulcrum choke. Well, it wasn't a blood choke because every choke can be considered that. Castillo, who you got on Nate versus Pettis? I'm an Anthony Pettis fan and I'm a Nate Diaz fan. Right now, as far as the inactivity of Nate Diaz, Del Castillo, I gotta go Anthony Pettis because he's on a streak right now. Everything about what he's doing, he feels good at the weight class he's currently at. And I like from what I'm seeing, man, like he's really digging deep to get these W's. So I'm going with my man Anthony Pettis for sure. Castillo, Ferguson versus Khabib needs to happen. Tony's a monster that doesn't get tired. Look, that fight right there is going to do very solid numbers. I'm talking about somber numbers like up there in the top 5. Real talk. Tony Ferguson is a no-nonsense, get straight to the freaking cage and let's throw down. That's Tony Ferguson. When they was trying to ask him about his mental issues leading up, he said, "I ain't fucking talking about that. Don't ask me that fucking question again." He got straight to the point. And then you have Khabib, who's a much more quieter assassin. I just look at it like Khabib is going to take punishment. Ferguson's going to take punishment. Ferguson ground game is good, but I don't believe. I'm just assessing my opinion of Castillo. I don't believe Ferguson ground game, even though he hasn't lost in a long time. I don't see his ground game equating to that of Khabib. I don't think I don't think they're equal, bro, but I think it's damn near close in Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu, his athleticism. But then you have to compare the gas tanks. Khabib got a gas tank, and Ferguson has a gas tank. It's going to all depend on who has the better offensive technical authority, who is going to delegate it the best. But Ferguson is absolutely no joke. No joke. He put a beating on Donald Cowboy Cerrone. For real. Bob J, I respect your opinion. I appreciate that, Bob J. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not here to sit up here and get in an argument, debate, or whatever. You know, I don't compete. I just know my research. And you know, if you're right, you're right, and I'll tell you you are, bro. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate the input though. Valentine, shout out, fam. Shout out to you, Matthew Valentine. You know what it is. Bob J say Anthony just got one win. Tony killed him. Tony did kill him, and that's what I was talking about. Anthony Pettis was going through his tribulations in the UFC, and Tony Ferguson did destroy Pettis, man. Like Pettis has had his upbeat moments in the UFC, just like he subbed out my boy Benson Henderson. My boy Benson Henderson. I still remember that day. I'm like, damn, how can you get armbarred as athletic as you are by Anthony Pettis? Because that's Anthony Pettis, man. Showtime. That's what he do. To still say it's a crime Pettis and Nate ain't 5 rounds. You know, they have to be in the championship. They have to be fighting for the interim or the championship belt for it to be 5 rounds. And I agree, Castillo. It is a crime for real. I just wish it would be somewhat the main event, but since Diaz has been inactive and Pettis is, you know, getting himself back in the lane, you know, on that winning streak, that's why it's going to be 3 rounds. And I kind of like it being 3 rounds because Nate Diaz hasn't been in the game for a minute, a long minute. So, you know, I kind of concur, man. I kind of concur on both sides with you. It is a crime. It's not 5 rounds because we would have definitely seen, you know, both of them apply. Both of them have solid ground games. I truly would tell you point blank, Anthony Pettis have the better stand-up striking. Real talk. Anthony Pettis, Showtime, and the way he has applied his hands lately, I like him punishing Nate Diaz. Period. Bob J say, what are your thoughts on the light heavyweight division? I think Wilder and John Jones are a lot alike. I don't agree with you on that there, Bob J. Okay, thanks for bringing up the light heavyweight division though, because John Jones runs that. You know, he finally came back. He was able to defeat Alexander Gustafsson in a rematch, subbed him out in 2 rounds, and then he went there against Anthony Smith and went 5 round distance. And thanks to Anthony Smith for not taking the easy way out when John Jones hit him with a knee. You know, Bob J, that took me back to when John Jones delivered that 12-6 elbow on Matt Hamill. I was like, God damn, he's about to get DQ'd again. But thanks to Anthony Smith with standing up and continuing with the fight and losing a decision, a 5 round decision. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm glad he didn't bow out and become champion that way. Real talk. But John Jones and Deontay Wilder's style isn't the same, in my opinion, because John Jones, all around, as far as kicks, ground game, it's just a hard map to give directions about when it comes to mixed martial arts and the boxing style of Deontay Wilder. Like Deontay is one of those guys that'll wait on John Jones in a boxing match and knock him out. Period. But put a boxer in there in an octagon, and John Jones will have his way with, you know, just breaking them down. He would start off that front thigh kick, and he continue to, you know, break down those legs to take away the power of Deontay Wilder. And then soon enough, he'll start, opening up his punches. I think with John Jones, he wouldn't even try to take Deontay down. He'd try to just punish him on the feet and let him know it could be done the right way. Because if we look back on James Toney, Randy Couture did not play around with James Toney. James Toney threw a couple of punches and Randy went up for the double leg, took him to the ground, and that was it. That was in his world. Randy Couture played around with James Toney, but I give James Toney credit, man, for stepping up, having the cojones, man, to step in there with Randy Couture. Real talk, man. But if you want to talk about boxing bouts, John Jones going over there, hell yeah. And then, even look at it this way in mixed martial arts. Deontay Wilder is the hardest hitter. He has a puncher's chance to knock John Jones out in the cage. John Jones has been touched up by Alexander Gustafsson. But when it comes down to intelligence, as far as him not being stupid to get within Deontay's range to get hit, he's just going to use his kicks. He's going to, use his punches from weird angles and how they do in mixed martial arts. And of course, John Jones kicks. Lethal. John Jones is a beast. I call him the GOAT, man. Real talk. I call John Jones the GOAT, man. He's a bad dude. But good question there, Bob J. Good question, man. Bob J say they both started fight for their daughters. Yeah, real talk, man. I mean, we all know the backstory. Deontay fighting for, his daughter who has spinal bifida. And he started boxing around 18, didn't he? Went to the 08 Olympics. I mean, not extensive amateur pedigree, but he is 9 defenses, over 4 years champion, reigning atop the #1 heavyweight in the division. He's doing big things. He's the best heavyweight in the sport of boxing. Chimp said, yo, I need someone's expertise, MMA knowledge. I'm not sure what that means, bro. But if you have a question, please feel free to ask. Castillo said, Pettis annoyed me a little because when he was on his losing streak, he quit a couple of times in the cage and kept making excuses for his losses. He actually got injured, man. Yeah, I know it looked like he was getting beat down, which he was. But you know what? I have to kind of agree what you said about quitting, but also with the injury. I know some fighters say they push through it, they keep on fighting, they don't worry about it too much. And then you have other fighters like Pettis that had it did come off that way, man. Due to put down, I just don't know what you're talking about. Jones to beat Santos, Nunez to beat Holmes, Nunez to beat Holmes, Askren to beat Masvidal, Fury to beat Schwarz, Dillon to beat Ortiz, and Lobov to beat Pauly, and Khabib to beat Poirier. And that's a prediction. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking? That seems like your prediction right there. I'll roll through it right quick. Jones to beat Santos? Absolutely. John Jones is gonna blitz Santos. And you know what? That may not make it out of the first or the second round. Thiago Santos going in there against John Bones Jones. So that I agree with. Also with Nunez to beat Holmes. Amanda Nunez is a current 135 women's bantamweight champion and women's featherweight champion. Her last definitive, sensational win was against the one and only Christine Cyborg. We saw the beatdown she put on her. And if Cyborg just would have just got up, exit, and just reset in the middle of the ring, just got her wits back, it would have been a different fight to me. I'm not saying she would have beat Nunez. I'm just saying that if she would have took her time, instead of just getting up, coming forward, getting up, running in the bees, the beehive was already out, man. The nest was split. Nunez was just giving her the stinging her left and right. If she just would have took her time and be patient. But I see Holmes as this fighter who came over here and had the upset of the century with Ronda Rousey. She was at the highest point, but she hasn't been able to keep it tuned in mentally. Her headspace has been a little bit loose in her maintaining her win streak. Oh yeah, Nunez has every potential to defeat Holmes. Absolutely. Askren to beat Masvidal. After what I saw with Robbie Lawler and Ben Askren, Masvidal has been working his wrestling. If you don't know the story between Jorge Masvidal, came from street fighting. You know, he was out there doing the same thing Kimbo Slice, and then he turned it over and started training to fight for real and get paid for it. And Ben Askren, he came over here in the one championship trade for Demetrius Johnson. He's one of the most boringest fighters that you will ever witness. Dude doesn't look like he can beat up anybody, but he will absolutely be the wrong guy to run up to in the street and try to rob. I mean, Ben has his red curly hair, man. He looked like he'd been swimming all his life and eating freaking a little bit of ho-ho and ding dongs and fine New York pizza. But he is a problem. His wrestling is top notch. But Masvidal has been working on his game. And if I can tell you any type of prediction, definitely Ashton is going to try to take Masvidal down. Definitely. And I'm just curious to see if Masvidal can handle Ben Askren's takedowns. That's going to be the defining moment. If Masvidal can handle that and keep it on the feet, he'll beat Ben Askren. He'll hand him his first loss. Real. And believe it or not, Askren is undefeated. Fury to beat Schwarz, I already went over that. Fury should beat Schwarz, but Schwarz is able to somehow, um, pull off the Andy Ruiz or just shock the community by beating Fury. If it happens, it happens. Kudos to him. I'm pretty sure Fury would take that rematch immediately. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't take Deontay Wilder's, but he would probably take Schwarz. And then Dillian to what's his name? Dillian to beat Ortiz. I'm trying to. I think you got the wrong dude. Dillian White is fighting. Damn, that's crazy. Somebody help me out. That's crazy. I forgot old boy's name. But anyway, Dillian White should win that fight. Dillian White should win that fight. Dillian can box when he chooses to, but he can be out. How you put it? He can be out strategized when it comes down to it. Because if you catch him in the first half of the fight and blitz him a little bit, land some punches, Dylan would throw anything and everything out the door and just try to knock your ass out. And in the process, he looks very, very sloppy. So he was able to defeat Joseph Parker. Kudos. But we all saw how that fight went. And we all know how it looked. Paulie Malignaggi and Artem Lobov. Listen, we all know boxing fans that a lot of boxing fans is going to support Paulie. Because, former world champion, he has the boxing commentating, one of the best in the game. He has that fan base behind him. Artem Lobov, I'm going to tell you, the dude has he has over a dozen losses to his resume. Like his physical attributes, his reach dimensions are his disadvantage. Now he can take a punch. Most of his fights have been a loss via decision. That's real talk. Artem Lobov will take the beating. He isn't a chump, though. One thing I can say about Artem Lobov, he isn't a chump. No matter what you saw about Paulie slapping him and stuff like that, man, no. Paulie isn't a punk either. We've seen Paulie fought with a broken jaw. We've seen him do what he do. He doesn't have any power. So he's going to have to box the shit out of Artem Lobov. 5 rounds. They're going 5 rounds. Expect Paulie Malignaggi to look different. He's talking about he's going to send this dude to the hospital. Hey, I'm not taking anything away from Paulie as far as him somehow gaining an advantage and having his spurts in that fight. Well, Arlen Lobov, if he doesn't respect Paulie's power, he's just going to walk in and try to do as much dirty boxing as possible. Exactly what Paulie's going to do. But Paulie's had hand problems. Y'all hold on for a minute. I got to take some out the oven. Whatever you're gonna eat, I'm gonna eat some rice. Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Um, yeah, back to Lobov and Paulie Malignaggi. I see Paulie Malignaggi, man. If he can work his boxing, and score some points, because he's not gonna knock out Artem Lobov. I'll put any type of money. He's not gonna knock out Artem Lobov. Period. Dude can take a beating. Now, if he gets Paulie cut and able to, beat him down and get a referee stoppage, that's highly possible. Because we all saw how Jason Knight, a former MMA, just like Artem Lobov, former mixed martial artist, how he looked after he was in there with Artem Lobov. So expect Artem to make Paulie Malignaggi look different. Period. Then Khabib to beat Poirier, I cannot go against Khabib right now. He's on a roll. He's a powerhouse in the UFC. He's serious with his sambo wrestling, and also he's brought his boxing around. Like Michael Johnson, very good with his hands. Khabib Nurmagomedov shut him down. Edson Barboza, one of the best stand-up strikers you will see in mixed martial arts. One of the fastest switch kicks. His spinning heel kick is just, on a whole nother level of blur. Real talk. The way he clipped Kevin Lee off the top of his cranium and made him do the stanky leg, it was sick. So I think Khabib is going to press the issue and get in close to Dustin Poirier. And then when Dustin starts to tire out against the cage, Khabib is going to take him down and do what Khabib does. He's going to land strikes from the top position, and he's going to try to pound that man into a submission or a referee stoppage. That's Khabib. Now Poirier, he does have good hands. He does have pretty decent takedown defense, but I don't think he's going to be able to handle the pressure if Khabib's places him on the cage and wear him down, trying to defend those takedown attempts. And when he does get on the ground, is he going to be able to continue to make it back up his feet? Is he going to have that power, enough energy and cardio to stand up? That's the question. Tim say, how does that look? Hey, great one, Chimp. Real talk. Good shit. Good shit. Real talk. DBFC agreed. Strictly strikers don't last too long in the octagon. Yeah, the game has changed there, DB. You know what I'm saying? The game has changed in the UFC. The wrestlers that used to go in there and lay and pray, like the Johnny Hendricks and Frankie Eggers, Gray Maynards, Clay Guidas. Not too much Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Not too much Tyron Woodley, who has some, okay collegiate wrestling. But you just can't do that anymore. Wrestling is a good foundation to have, of course, but you're gonna need a lot more to add to that. You're gonna need some jiu-jitsu, absolutely. and you're gonna need to work on your Muay Thai. There's a reason why I say Muay Thai, because look at freaking Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Look at his skill set and where it took him. Castile said nobody talks about this, but I think the toughest fight for John Jones besides DC is Yoel Romero going to 205. He's just a freak. Look, Yoel Romero is a freak, man. He is, man. That dude has some of the most explosive strikes that you will ever witness for your eyes in mixed martial arts. To be so big the way he is, you know what I'm saying? To be chiseled the way he is and strike as lethal as that knee he threw on Chris Weidman when he was about to shoot. Go look at the replay, man. The way Yoel Romero shot that knee, it wasn't even 0.2. It wasn't even 0.2 seconds, man. Like, his reaction was just unfreaking believable. He split Chris Weidman open. Easy. But yeah, that'll be a good fight between him and John Jones. John Jones would definitely try to wear down Yoel Romero with strikes. And we all know that Yoel Romero has had cardio issues in the past. And he would definitely have to deal with that with a striker like John Jones, who's long ranged, you know what I'm saying? Who has multi-faceted striking angles, especially when he kicks the front thigh. You know, that's one of those American top team type of deals. You know, Winkle John. Shout out to Winkle John, ATT. So you know what? I still have John Jones defeating Yoel Romero if he goes up to 205. But he just won a $27 million lawsuit. So I'm pretty sure if he ain't eating Cuban food just yet, I don't know if they sent the check out to him, but I'm pretty sure he eats some damn good Cuban food over there. For real. Hey, thank you, D Beer. Say smash the like button, real talk. I appreciate the support always. Can still say you like Masvidal. He's such a G, got sick hands. Man, I like Masvidal, man. Respect him. I met him. You know, a lot of, some of these fighters, man, they make their way around military installations and they come out and do meet and greets. And, I had the opportunity to meet Masvidal. Real cool dude. Real down to earth. I remember the first time I'm standing and I see Chuck Liddell shaking hands. I say, man, this is what all the hype is about. Chuck Liddell doesn't look that big. And then I was like, I remember all the people he knocked out without a jiu-jitsu game. Chuck Liddell was comatosing people without hardly any jiu-jitsu game. T. Ortiz, another guy who had a wrestling pedigree a little bit. He beat him down. He beat Tito Ortiz down, man. But Liddell, man, shout out to the Iceman, for real. Bob J say being out, Robbie to sleep crazy. Being knocked out, Robbie to sleep. I'm not sure. It's slipping me. I know what you're trying to say. It's just slipping my mind. Oscar Rivas, yeah. Oscar Rivas is fighting Dillian White, isn't he? So Oscar Rivas, man, he's definitely trying to make a name for himself. And Dillian White is the dude to do it against. For real. If Oscar Rivas can maintain his composure and don't get knocked the fuck out by Dillian, that he'll put his name in the equation to start working his way up the ladder. Yeah. D. Beer said Oscar Rivas would beat Dillian White. Man, Dillian White it has so many people confused as to what lane he's in. It's just crazy. But Oscar Rivas looked like a Mr. Clean 2.0. In 2019, he looked like the new Mr. Clean. Shit. Saw him in the press conference. It looked like the dude dipped his head in powder, baby powder. I'm like, damn, dude look weird. Like the old commercial. I'm not even going to get into it because you all might not have been born back in that time and know who the hell I'm talking about, for real. Because I'm from the old school. But anyway, let me keep it moving. Bob J said, I agree Rivas will win. Jim said, oh yeah, Rivas, not Ortiz. Yeah, I was about to say, he's not fighting any type of Ortiz that I know. Paulie about to hit him with some shit he can't see. Hey, you might be right. It might be the Paulie Malignaggi just stepped in the the sparring session with Conor McGregor. We might get the behind the scenes Paulie Malignaggi that we know. Because look, Paulie wasn't a punk, okay, in boxing. He wasn't a punk. But also he didn't have no power. And you gotta have power to earn and earn some type of respect against Artem Lobov, bruh. Artem Lobov is his own freaking beast. Like he is the dude you roll with. Artem Lobov is a tough motherfucker, man. Real talk. Artem ain't that dude that you just gonna run up on just because you tall and he looking up to you that he's gonna bag down. He's not cut like that, man. And that's Connor's besties, his BFF for a reason. But good point, man. Bob J say 27 mil, he not training the same. You damn right he ain't training the same, Bob J. But you train the same. I wouldn't train the same. I would say, shit, you know what? I gotta take me a vacation like 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Let's say half a year. I have to travel places that I haven't been. They're paying me 27 million. I have to go out and find and rededicate myself to the sport. I need to get refocused because what just happened, I've saved my career because people was calling Yoel Romero a drug. He saved his career for real. It doesn't get any better than that, than winning a lawsuit for tainted supplements and 27 million. DBS say, who you talking on Wonder Life? Bob J, I was talking to about Revis. DBS say, oh, Revis is a slucker who can box really well, great amateur background. Yeah, he can have a great amateur background now, but this is professional boxing. And you also talking about someone like Dillian White who's been in there with champions such as Anthony Joshua. He's been in there twice against War, Mr. War himself. And beat him twice. He's been in there with the Joseph Parker. He's been in there with Lucas Brown, didn't he? Dillian White has been in there with the two notable champions, and freaking Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker. He's been in there twice with Derek Chisora. Dillian White, he's not a chump. He's just confused as to what his direction should be at the moment. Bob J said, plus he's 40. You must be talking about Yoel Romero or Paulie. I mean, no, Paulie ain't that. But anyway, Yoel Romero, he's not a young dude. You know what I'm saying? Yoel was pretty old. He if you take care of your body, you can get a little bit more out of it. Like that goes, for Deontay Wilder. He didn't have an extensive amateur pedigree, right? But if you look at him to possibly surpass these records of defenses, which he's doing, and also remaining undefeated as a heavyweight fighter, it's possible for his preservation and not having an extensive amateur career to come into effect on the back end of his career. It's possible. Like fighters like Triple G and Vasily Lomachenko, guess what? That extensive amateur career plays a lot at this point in time when they're aging and they're getting up there at 36, 37. Their body wear and tear from the amateur days, it hasn't went anywhere. It hasn't went anywhere. Your body still took punishment. You know what I'm saying? DB say Dillian is overrated, gassed out, and got lucky with Chisora. I don't know if it was luck that DB, but I respect your OP, bro. I don't rate him much. I respect the opinion, bro. Believe me, one thing I'm not gonna do is advocate for Dillian, bro. I'm not gonna advocate for somebody who really can't advocate for himself. He's up there trying to call out Deontay Wilder when he should be calling out Anthony Joshua. That right there, to go back in there, when you was in there initially before Dominic Breazeale, and you got knocked out before Dominic Breazeale with Anthony Joshua, you should have been campaigning to go back in there for these championship belts, Dillian. But no, you taking orders. You going around saying, no, I want to call out Dillian. I want to call out Deontay Wilder because Ernst told me to. Good point, bro. Good point. Chimp say, and lastly, bro, what you reckon about adding Zabit to beat Ortega and Max to beat? Listen, bro. You bringing up some good MMA shit. I usually don't have people here bringing up the MMA stuff, but Zabit, I'm telling you, his last fight, I was like, okay, can he push through it a little bit? Can he show us something different? You know what I'm saying? Zabit is a fighter to look out for, y'all. He remind me of another Khabib. You really can't read that. You know, you really can't read it. But guess what? He's going in there with one of the most lethal jiu-jitsu Brazilian. I have to put Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners in the sport of mixed martial arts under the Gracie tutelage, Brian T. City Ortega. If he's indeed worked on his striking with his hands, he should be able to do fairly well with Zabit. But we might see a replay, y'all. I'm telling you, Zabit can strike. He's awkward, and he can get within range with Brian Ortega. He can do freaking damage. Zabit is not a slouch. He isn't a bum. He isn't a soft touch for Ortega, who's coming off a beating from Max Holloway. Max Holloway beat the brakes off Ortega. So guess what? Has he fully recovered? Because we all know you have one of the best professors in the sport or in the discipline of jiu-jitsu. We get it. But you going in there with a tall, rangy Zabit as your opponent after you took a striking beatdown from Max Holloway, who was just beat down by Dustin Poirier? Hey, bro, I have to go with Zabit on this. The reason why I'm going with Zabit, if Brian Ortega had the takedown speed as Khabib the Nurmagomedov, if he had the, I'm talking about if he had the shoot speed, if he had the speed of Henry Cejudo, then I would give him that little edge to go in here and be able to, get a single, a double leg, and take Zabit. But I really haven't seen Brian Ortega go in against a high level, a top tier opposition and be able to manhandle them by taking them down like Khabib the Nurmagomedov does. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen him do that. Even though he is legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, I give the edge to Zabit. I give the edge to Zabit. And then I don't know if you're trying to play Max to beat Holloway. Max Holloway is the same person, okay? Thanks for the humor. Aguilera, thank you for the love. I appreciate it. D Beer said Wilder has an equalizer. No one hits as hard as him. That's why his amateur pedigree doesn't matter. His amateur pedigree doesn't matter, man. Wilder is blessed innately with a gift that a lot of people continue to link him up to not being able to match against the old, the Mike Tysons and Bone Crushers or Joe Frazier's, Rocky Marciano's. Even though Rocky Marciano took mad punishment, I don't see him taking a whole lot of right hands from Deontay Wilder, but for freaking 12 or 15 rounds, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at a lot of power punchers, they want to say just because Deontay's taller, okay, we've seen him take a punch against King Kong Ortiz. We've seen him weather 41 seconds and come back and get his equilibrium back in the 8th round and do what he do. So you have to understand this man would have been a big threat back then with those old heads. For real. It would have been a problem. Bob J say, that's how Larry Holmes, how he started late, just like Wilder. Yeah, Larry Holmes, he was due the equal Rocky Marciano's record at one time. And They really set him up for failure as much as they possibly can. They didn't want him to be the sole proprietor of that record. So yeah, he ended up being beat by Joe Frazier. You know, um, he was on a roll, Larry Holmes. A lot of people are pretty much perturbed about what he did to Muhammad Ali, being that they did have a history and a backstory together. But things like that in the hurt business happen. It happens in athletics. It happens at the highest tier of competitive sports, y'all. We can't get all soft-hearted about it. It's combat sports. I know deep down inside, Larry Holmes probably felt some type of way about it, especially when Mike Tyson did what he did to him in retribution. Seriously. Aguilera, I hope Dillian Danis get knocked the fuck out. His striking is so bad. That was a lucky win. Yeah, man, Dillian Danis, he might be a jiu-jitsu practitioner mostly, but dude has a long ways to go before he even think about getting the call up to the UFC. It takes more than being the guy that Khabib scaled the cage and went out there because he was talking trash to beat. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot more than that because Dillian Danis get his ass handed to him. What I would say about the UFC is the tier of competition does change once you get that call up. We've seen fighters who are just dominating in neighboring organizations step into the UFC and get tore apart. Eddie Alvarez. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it happen. We've seen fighters come over here and not last long. Now, that doesn't count for Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He totally dominated. And the first ever trade between the UFC and One Championship. Unfortunately, him being one of those fighters that doesn't have any personality besides gaming, he had to go. So we got freaking Ben Askren. Aguilera said, what do you think about Francis versus Dos Santos? I think that fight is not going out of the first round. I agree there, Aguilera. Why? Because Francis Ngannou, as much as I don't want to co-sign on this dude, you know what I'm saying? Because Francis Ngannou, when he damn near decapitated Alistair Overeem, I looked at that and said, Alistair's been knocked out before. Okay. And then he went in there and finished Curtis Blade. I was like, damn, he actually got it done this time. And Curtis Blade has a wrestling background. But Francis Ngannou was able to freaking knock his ass out. Dos Santos has been finished. Francis Ngannou, he's in the right division. And he hasn't had the test yet. Like Francis Ngannou against DC. But let me get back to your question. I believe Francis Ngannou, will knock out Dos Santos. Even though Junior Dos Santos had his ups and downs, he has his moment when he's knocked people out, and then you see him go in there against Alistair Overeem and get finished. So he had his wars, man, but I still get an edge to Francis Ngannou. I think he gets it done, and you're right. I don't think it's going out of the first round because one thing about Ngannou, he is swinging for anything and everything. He's swinging for his honor. He's swinging for his country's honor. He's swinging for every goddamn thing that you can believe when he throws that hand. So, yeah, Dos Santos should get knocked out. Dear say Wilder's the hardest one-shot artist I've seen, and I'm old. Yeah, Wilder is the hardest puncher in the game right now. He's innately gifted, like I said, and just to see him do what he did to Dominic Brazil, King Kong Ortiz, Arthur Spilka, Gerald Washington. The list goes on, y'all. He has a highlight reel for days. 41-0, 40 knockouts, 1 draw. He's the hardest hitting fighter that we've seen in a long time, period. And it's a lot of people that always say what he could have did. What if he was back then? You can say that. But look at what he's doing to grown-ass men and fighters who have experience, undefeated, whatever. They're running into to Deontay Wilder and getting dealt with. Shout out to the Bronze Bomber, man. Keep doing your damn thing, man. And, you know, congrats to Deontay Wilder being a top at the pinnacle of the heavyweight division. ESPN put him up there. You know, ringside has Tyson Fury up there. But shout out to the right one and ESPN having him #1 heavyweight. Chimp say mad tired. Aguilera say Silly Lomachenko is the best boxer right now. Who can disagree? I disagree with you. I disagree, Aguilera, because Silly Lomachenko to me is overrated. You look at his competition, look at his resume, and don't bring up Rigondeaux. You know what I'm saying? Don't bring up Leonard, who's already stopped. Don't bring up Pedraza. You know what I'm saying? I just think Lomachenko is exciting to watch. He does have he does have a superb skill set, highly talented. And Lomachenko is also skilled in mixed martial arts, man, and grappling. He can legit, if he chose to turn over, go to mixed martial arts. If he was to legitimately want to cross over and train, he does have that pedigree. He didn't compete, but I'm just saying, you know, when it comes down to it, he can make that transition. But pound for pound right now, former junior welterweight, undisputed, you know, I have to give it to Terrence Crawford. Now, I'm going to tell you who's on the heels of both of them, and that's Saul Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, man, he's on the heels. If he's able to unify the middleweight division, I'm talking about undisputed. I'm talking about right now, he's 52-1. It's going to be hard to say otherwise, especially if Terrence Crawford doesn't step up and fight any top tier competition that's in the division champions. You know what I'm saying? Okay, if he fight Errol Spence and just say, you know, the WBO and the IBF titles only one online, and that's just two titles. Okay, you still have the WBA Keith Thurman and the IBF. I mean, the WBC Sean Porter. He needs to unify that to remain on top. And Terrence Crawford don't plan on staying in boxing for a long period of time. That's real. He doesn't plan on extending his boxing career till it's past his, you know, prime or his competitive edge. He's gonna get out. He said that already. D Beer, let me see. Let me get back up here. D Beer said Holmes got beat by Michael Spinks, not Joe Frazier. Got Michael Spinks. You gotta understand. Sometimes I'm just talking and registering and recalling. But you're right. You're right. That was his first loss. You're right. D Beer said Crawford is the best pound for pound boxer right now. So I disagree. I disagree too. You know, like I said before, Bob J. Overeem not on gear though. Yeah, Overeem not on gear. He's not the horse meeting Overeem. I've seen Overeem several times when I was stationed when he was fighting in the Grand Prix tournaments over there overseas. I met him when he was an old Overeem, when he looked like a statue, chiseled, hand chiseled. Dude's much more bigger. And of course, he's off the gear over here, and he's been able to sustain a pretty decent career, including his knockout losses, man. You know what I'm saying? He was able to do what he do. I mean, whether they put him in the Hall of Fame or not, I don't know, man. He's been knocked out so many times, but I like him when he was in his Grand Prix days kickboxing. That's real. I like that Overeem, man. Aguilera say Vasily Lomachenko is the best boxer probably of all time. Come on, stop it. Stop it. Come on now, Aguilera. Stop it. Stop it with that. I know I can understand you advocate for Vasily Lomachenko, but the best boxer probably of all time. 2 gold medals in boxing. He's the real deal. I don't know who else has done that. Clarissa Shield did it. Carissa Shield has 2 gold medals. Carissa Shield is the active middleweight champion, super middleweight unified. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't have to be in the male wheelhouse And it's plenty of other male boxers out there that's doing the damn thing. But just to include gold medals, that doesn't register. You know what I'm saying? As being the best fighters all time. Hell no. DBS say, sorry, Evan, not you lost me. DBS say, Teofimo Stevenson won 3 Olympic gold medals. Several others won too. Hey, the gold medals, they doesn't addition the accolades of the professional credentials that one has earned. You know what I'm saying? They don't. When you talk about all around fighter, we're talking about professional accolades and credentials. Aguilera said Lomachenko has won, lost, against Alito. But that fight, I had him winning the 5th to the 12th round. You could have had him win the 5th to the 12th round, but he lost though. But I understand, I respect what your OP is. You know, Lomachenko beat the seventh pound for pound boxer in the world. He couldn't continue, and he gave up basically. Talking about Lomachenko, who's beaten fighters that other people have beaten also. Hey, DBR say, sorry, Aaron, you have no argument. None. Well, he was a 7 pound for pound at that time. Man, come on now. We're talking about the 7th. What are we going to do next? The 10th pound for pound. Hey, so-and-so was the 12th pound for pound. Come on, the pound for pound is also a favoritism. It's a popularity contest too. Aguilera say that Amir Khan fight was so bad Amir Khan didn't belong there. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. But much respect for the answers, bro. 3 a.m. in London. Here, gonna sign out. Subscribe till next time. Hey, salute to you there. Thanks for dropping in over there. Salute to the UK. Doing what they do over there in London. Y'all hold it down. And the rest of you that tuned in, I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? It's been a good talk. I'm surprised as the MMA question, the mixed martial arts question that came through, that was in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm surprised that it all came down in the chat the way it did. Good shit, for real. I like, that's the most MMA input that I've received, because I talk boxing and MMA now. I just choose not to go in detail on other people's channel. I just don't want to, some people, you got to feel them out before you actually give input. That's just me, because sometimes people just take it the wrong way, as if you're given a in-depth reservoir, and some people accept it. Some people mesh together and it's cohesive freaking dialogue. But I like to kind of stay refreshed in both boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu. But if the audience isn't there enough, then they're not going to tune in. Like, people can pretty much relate to the mixed martial arts enough. People can relate to the boxing. You know what I'm saying? But if I was to start talking about jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, it's not gonna really gravitate those sprinkles of audience or combat fans, enthusiasts tune in. DBR said Amir Glassjaw Khan. Hey, Glassjaw, and also a missing heart, because he didn't have to sit up there and quit against Terrence Crawford. And then he has immediate fight that they're creating this other title for Amir Khan. This title, this other type London special made title, just like the WBC Diamond Belt. They're just coming up with all this stuff to appease Amir Khan. Why are they trying to placate this dude? I don't know, but he quit. And once again, another UK fighter, man, is getting coddled. And I'm not sure why, man. But Amir Khan quit when it most needed. And now he's going in there against another guy who potentially he may beat and get a title off of it. Some other title that they're trying to give. It's crazy. Aguilera said UFC 38 was probably one of the greatest cards of all time. Every fight was good, and that head kick made me feel bad. It did not only make you feel bad, but it made the person that landed on feel bad too. Valentina Shevchenko One of the most devastating highlight reel knockout artists. Even though not all her opponents are knocked out, but when she timed Jessica Evil Eye on the half beat and didn't give her a chance to set up and damn near scalped her, it was beautiful, magical. It was a Picasso. It was a mixed martial arts Picasso watching a bullet fight. I'm just amazed at how this woman is not really the face in the women's division. Real talk. He is the all-around woman assassin that you would look for. Like, she actually lives it. You see her out there firing weapons. You know, you see out here training hard. She's never coming in out of shape. You know, Valentina Shevchenko is a problem. And the one thing she needs to do is go back up there to 135 and challenge Amanda Nunes for that 135-pound title. Because she lost twice. Myself, I thought she won the second one. But she needs to go up there and handle that, man. To remove all doubt. She needs to go up there and face the champ. And that's Amanda Nunes. DBR said Khan is running a running joke in my boxing forum. Khan getting $9 million for that Dubai fight. Wow. They giving Khan $9 million, which I did read that somewhere. But they giving Khan that bag after he quit against Crawford. Just goes to show you, man, who they appease and who they don't. You know, DBR say amazing, isn't it? So long as folks keep buying and watching him, this is what's going to happen. I don't think a whole lot of people watch this Khan. That's why they're going over there to Dubai to fight, because over here in the U.S., no love. No love, shouty. For real. Don't bring that over here, shout. Aguilera said, well, the UFC 217 was a really good fight card, too, wasn't it? Except 3 new champs at the time. When you get that deep and then you have a reconstruction at certain points of the UFC, I'm not sure to the total fight card that was on there. I remember vaguely, but, you know, going back that far, I'm pretty sure on the women's division, they was reconstructing some divisions, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not going to get too deep in it, but I can't reflect on 217 right now. D-Beer got to run again. Be back next time. Love the chats. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, D-Beer. Thanks for the input each and every time, man. Be sure to tune back in to World Combat Sports. Thanks for the support, bro. And for those of you that's here, I have to get up out of here. You know what it is. You know, it's been a pleasure. Be sure to tune in to World Combat Sports, Facebook, IG, Twitter, and also subscribe to the channel. It's been an absolute pleasure this evening talking boxing and mixed martial arts with you. You know, continue to tune in. Smash the bell icon, man, so you can get the notifications when I go live. It's been a pleasure. All y'all that was tuned in, D-Beer, Aguilera, a shout out to Unanimous Decision Sports and Entertainment. You just got here, but I definitely read your comment, bro. What's going on? Make sure to touch on Andrew Abidi versus Yanir Doticos, his name, Yanir Doticos. I'm late. I just got off the lake fishing. Hey, man, once you skin them, you know, be sure to air pack them. You know, what they call them, air pack them or whatever, air sealed. Send them in the mail. I don't know what you caught. You know what I'm saying? From catfish to everything else, a cod, bass, whatever. D-Beer say hammer that like button. I appreciate the support there, D-Beer. Doticos. All right. Doticos. Got it. Thanks for it, man. Thanks for the assistance with pronunciation. Doticos. Aguilera, peace to you too. Thanks for dropping in, man. Thanks for dropping in. But I'm out, y'all. Y'all take it easy, man. Continue to keep, you know, that combat knowledge up. You know what I'm saying? It's been an absolute pleasure. Continue to educate me and yourselves. Until next time, y'all be sure to turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.